So can you think of a time you had to get ready for a trip? There's always so much to do before you travel, right? You gotta book the trip, which means booking hotels or an Airbnb, transportation and flights, transfers to and from the airport, car rentals. If you're traveling internationally, you need to make sure your passport is up to date. You need medical insurance, maybe a vaccine or two. Make sure you have someone to cut the grass while you're gone, or if it's in the winter, to shovel your driveway, check on the mail, feed the cat. You gotta think about what to pack. If you're like me, you wanna carry on, so you wanna be as efficient as possible and think of everything you need and only what you need to fit into the bag. Clean out the fridge. You don't wanna come home to a science experiment in there. You gotta pack the car, take out the garbage, and the list goes on and on and on. It's a lot, right? And yet, for most of us, we still love to travel. We want to travel. We pay lots of money to travel. Why? Because we all know that those countless tedious errands and jobs we have to do to get ready for a trip actually aren't what it's all about. We know that those things are just there because they lead to something else. Those are the things that enable us to go where we want to go. I think church can be a lot like that in many ways. There's a lot to do to be a Christian community. We have services, we have fundraisers, we gotta find volunteers, there's committees and task teams and budgets and reports. Of course, there's fun, silly times together, but there's also stress and interpersonal dynamics. Could you imagine waking up every day and packing a suitcase? Not because you were going anywhere, but because you just thought you had to pack a suitcase every day? Packing only makes sense. It's only ever worth it when you realize you're doing it because it's taking you somewhere. So all this stuff that we do as a church, where's it taking us? Where is it leading us? Are we sure we're even packing the right stuff for where we want to go? For the last several months, for the last season, I would say, the board and staff team here at Humber Valley have been asking these kind of questions. And we've been listening for Spirit. Out of that intentional listening and discernment, what's emerged is what we've called our North Star. Now, I know a lot of organizations and churches have mission statements and vision statements, and I think that's great. But when you think about it, a mission implies that completion is possible. One day you'll be able to step back and say, check, mission complete. I'm not sure a church can ever complete our call to embody God's presence in this world. So rather than focusing on mission statement language, we wanted the North Star to be a directional statement, an expression of what we're looking toward, what we're compelled by, the direction we're heading as a community of faith. Now, we know that throughout history, explorers and sojourners and sailors across cultures have used the North Star to find their bearings, to chart their course, and lead them in the direction they needed to go. So what compels us? What direction will we orient ourselves towards? What's the guide that will lead us into our future? What's Humber Valley's North Star? In the same way, Jesus embodies the divine dream for the world. Together, Humber Valley United Church is seeking to be a living expression of justice, compassion, and belonging, now and into the future. That's it. In the same way Jesus embodies the divine dream for the world, together Humber Valley is seeking to be a living expression of justice, compassion, and belonging, now and into the future. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? And that first line, in the same way Jesus embodies the divine dream for the world, that's a theological statement. That's saying that for us, Jesus exemplifies what it means to live the life we were created to live. So together, we will follow Jesus in being a living expression of justice, compassion, and belonging. That's where we're going. That's who we're called to be. Justice, compassion, belonging. In order to live into this North Star, this direction together, we've identified 4 core commitments that will help us get there. I like to think of these 4 core commitments as almost like points on a compass. The first one is this: Humber Valley exists for the well-being of the world. This is just essential Christian stuff. John's gospel tells us, for God so loved the world, God gave us Jesus. For us as Christians, this whole thing is about expressing love and generosity to the world. It's about divine generosity, divine love to creation, to our neighbors, to all of humanity. If we're going to be a living expression of God's heart, as embodying in justice, compassion, and belonging, we have to recognize that God has called us together as a people for the well-being of the world. Humber Valley exists for the well-being of the world. Second, we are committed to radical belonging. Inclusion has to be our default, right? Because in a world which runs on an in-group, out-group operating system, we want to embody the alternative. That's why every time we gather together, we emphatically proclaim, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whatever you've done or perhaps left undone, whatever you believe, however you identify, whomever you love, you're welcome here. You belong to this people. So Humber Valley exists for the well-being of the world. We're committed to radical belonging. And third, we're committed to discovery and discernment. This core commitment really has 2 parts to it. First, we believe that God is still speaking, which I know might not be a popular thing to say as a modern Christian, but it's true. We believe Spirit is still moving. God is relentlessly at work, creating, healing, nurturing, redeeming, loving this world. And God always invites us to be a part of that beautiful adventure. Our job is to listen, to watch, and to join in where we see God at work. And then the second part of discovery and discernment is really about intellectual and emotional integrity. We want to embody the kind of Christianity that is always thinking, always learning, always open to new insights and discoveries, always willing to ask hard questions about God and our world. And then fourth, the 4th core commitment we want to embody in living into the direction of the North Star is this: structures and traditions fuel justice, compassion, and belonging. Really, this 4th one is just another way of saying that we're all in when it comes to living the North Star, to the point where the structures we employ, from budgets and decision-making and leadership and governments, and the traditions we organize around are here to facilitate justice, compassion, and belonging. We don't exist to fuel our traditions. We're not here to sustain some arbitrary structure. But our traditions and our structures exist to fuel the very heart of God as revealed in Jesus. So Humber Valley exists for the well-being of the world. We're committed to radical belonging, discovery, and discernment, and our structures and our traditions fuel justice, compassion, and belonging. So friends, we need to get packed. We need to get ready for this journey, for this trip. Where are we going? Well, in the same way, Jesus embodies the divine dream for the world. Together, Humber Valley is seeking to be a living expression of justice, of compassion, and belonging, now and into our future.
The North Star has been developed by our board working with our ministerial team. The North Star is a concept that was discussed last October in 2022 by the ministerial team with the board, and it has evolved ever since then. Where does that concept of the North Star come from? Just think about it. The North Star is the major star in the sky that only rotates in a very small circle around the celestial pole every day in a 24-hour period. The North Star is what the Anishinaabe call the returning home star. It's metaphorically our home, and literally it is the position in our universe that provides direction, the direction of north. In our North Star, we have three major pillars: social justice, compassion, and belonging. As many of you realize, we have many programs now that fall into those categories, but we are looking for something new in all of them, and we hope that each of you will help co-create our future ministries, our future programs, our future life-breathing spirit in these three major areas. We look forward to co-creating with the ministerial team and with you as we move forward.
Our North Star here at Humber Valley is leading us to use our structures, our strengths, and our traditions to facilitate justice, compassion, and belonging in the way of Jesus. At the same time, the United Church of Canada has been engaged in forming a new vision in order to lead us forward and remain relevant as we grapple with the rapid changes taking place in society and in our religious life today. The Church recognizes the great inequalities among people, the harms to our earth, and how we have been complicit in injustice in many communities. The United Church of Canada vision statement is: called by God as disciples of Jesus, the United Church of Canada seeks to be a bold, connected, evolving church of diverse, courageous, hope-filled communities united in deep spirituality, bold discipleship, and daring justice. This new statement was developed to disrupt ongoing narratives of decline and despair in favor of hope and renewal in our rapidly changing society. As you can see by juxtaposing the two mission statements, justice, compassion, and belonging in the way of Jesus, with deep spirituality, bold discipleship, and daring justice, both embody the belief that we are called to affirm that people of all backgrounds and orientation are welcome to join our community as we seek to love and serve others. The United Church of Canada and Humber Valley United are engaged in a journey offering inclusion, concern for the well-being of others, and a deeper understanding of how we need to participate in God's actions in our world. I think it is important to take seriously that in our rapidly changing world, we need to engage with a new generation that is seeking love, justice, and compassion. But we have to present our church in new ways. These two mission statements, our North Star and the United Church of Canada's new vision statement, provide a pathway to do that. It is my hope that we here at Humber Valley will follow the principles in these two powerful mission statements to make our faith more relevant to a new generation of seekers as we together look for meaning and action following in the way of Jesus.
So in churches in the past, people looked at me and assumed that I'm straight. And that's caused harm in places where then someone feels safe enough to say something negative or denigrating about queer people, not realizing that I'm a queer woman. And here at Humber Valley, I've been able to be embraced as a queer woman in ministry. And that's been really exciting. And this is a place where I know I can always say, hey, you know, I love you, and I don't think that you meant that the way that it came out, because that actually hurts me. And that's a big part of it, you know, is the desire for us all to learn and grow together, and we definitely have that here. So with our commitment to being affirming, to being public, explicit, and intentional, this is what transformation is supposed to feel like. So that's an exciting thing as a queer woman to be part of.
When being asked if people feel welcome here, that's one of our big things, is trying to find ways to not just expand the table in which we're all sitting, but also like, how do we invite people better? How do we kind of lean into this theology of invitation, of belonging, of everybody's welcome? That's key for me. I have a big heart for that. And I think what I usually tell my friends is that when it comes to being welcome, we're working on that. And that might sound negative to people who are here, but I think that's just the reality of who we are. We are a church that's growing and shifting, and we are changing culture. We're in the middle of changing culture. And that comes with, I know everybody's sick of me of saying this, but it comes with its own growing pains. And I think we're still in that season. We're in that awkward sort of like, preteen era. And we're learning how to become more inviting, more welcoming. We're learning how to build the table that'll fit all the people. And so we're getting there. Honest truth, we're getting there. And I'm not going to go through the reasons of how we're not or what we're good at. We don't need to do that. The idea is, let's get better. Let's move forward.
Adaptation is a huge part of it. I can't be part of a faith community that isn't willing to step back and go, is this what we're doing or is this what God's doing? And I feel like this community has gotten good at that and getting better all the time at saying, whose agenda are we going on here? And there's such a safety in that for me, because I know that, I can be a team player and I can go with things, and there's always those checks and balances. There's always people who are really leaning into the Spirit, able to stop and say, well, what's our goal here? Are we focusing on the right thing? And I think that's what this North Star is all about, and that excites me a lot, and that makes me feel very spiritually protected, which is a really important part of why I call Humber Valley my home.
And so when I think about the new and the next for Humber Valley, that is a big thing for me, because I want my friends, my people, to really feel welcome here and to have a home here. So we have some work to do, but the great thing is we're all in it together, and we're all aiming towards the North Star. And so, yeah, are we super welcoming? We're getting there, and I believe we will get there.
I am so thrilled that we've taken the step to become an affirming church. I think there's always more to do. There's always more growing. There's always more learning. And, we can feel good about the fact that we are, we have the check mark, the label. That's a wonderful thing. That's very exciting. I've never been part of a church service where I could call myself a queer woman from the pulpit. Like that's an amazing experience that has touched me very deeply, and can't be understated. I hope that we all look at it as the springboard for the future, not, the accomplishment and now we're done, but here we go. From here on, we're going to become more radical with our belonging, that people who have never had a place in church find a place here with us. And that's something I desperately want and need to be a part of.
When I think about the worship arts program here, that's an honor to be part of. Again, we are sort of growing and shifting and learning how to do things together as a community. But when I think about how we kind of aim this program towards North Star, I think of two different ways. I'm sure there's more, but right now, with the lack of coffee in my system, I can only talk about two. So the first one is we are really trying to find ways in which people who have a gift or a talent can just be a part of it. And so it's great with Valley Voices that it's so welcoming and so open that anybody can be a part of it. And not just people who call HV their home, but also people who call the globe their home. And they can just sign up, be a part, and join us and sing their hearts out. I think that's really beautiful. I think that kind of fits into this idea of like belonging, creating a space of belonging. The second thing for me is everything that I do, and when I say everything, I mean even when personally, if I'm playing out in a pub or a bar, everything I do when it comes to like the songs we sing, when it comes to how I lead the teams, everything must be Christ-centered. What I mean by that is I don't want to play music for the sake of music. I don't want to create art just for the sake of art. Nothing wrong with that. Just keep creating art for the sake of art is great. It's beautiful. But when it comes to a Sunday morning thing, I want to find art that can really bring the message home. Whether it is simply about what the teaching's about, whether it's simply about like let's just find ways in which we can instill great theology into people. The songs that we sing today become the theology that we remember tomorrow. So that's really, really important. But also I want to make sure that's all in line in terms of who Christ is and what he sort of taught us to be. If it's outside of that, then for me, it's not a win. It's not a loss. It's just not a win. I kind of want to lean into the wins, especially in this new season. So for me, it's all Christ-centered. How you talk, how you react to people, how you bring people along, how you invite people in, the songs that we sing, the dramas that we do, the liturgies that I write up for the church. I think that is the main thing. So two things, just to reiterate. Things like Valley Voices and other things that we kind of do, especially when I think about Christmas and Easter season, where I reach out to like all the post-Christian deconstructive people out there who have sort of lost their place and lost their faith. I usually invite them in and say, hey, come join us. And when they leave going, I miss church. I miss this. So I think that sense of everybody's welcome. Let's bring them in. Sense of community and belonging. That's really, really big. Again, that kind of invitational idea. And then also, I want to make sure that the songs that we sing specifically are Christ-centered. That they lead us towards being more like him and living like him and loving the way that he does. And that's all centered around how to become more like him, but also how to become more like him as a community, a better community of faith. That might sound kind of like very heavy Christianese. Maybe I'm tipping my evangelical hat a little bit too much on that. That's really, really important for me as a church, that we become stronger spiritually. So the more we kind of lean into that, the more the idea of creating a bigger table, crowded table, just becomes a part of our process. It's way more natural to us. The more we kind of embody Christ, the more we sort of breathe him out and live him out in big and small ways. So that's how, and notice I'm not talking more about the arts and more about the heart. At the end of the day, it's all about the heart. So that's it. Hopefully I'm saying all the right things. Hopefully that's good enough, everybody. But I think as we lean towards the North Star, as we follow the North Star, that feels like a beautiful, grounded way of doing the Worship Arts program here at Humber Valley. Bye!